Evil Republicans are not afraid of Trump. They're in love with him. No, the reason that they're in love with him is because he's decisive. Some might call it confidence. Some might say I'll just say he's decisive because I don't think he's confident. You see, people naturally hate making decisions. They hate having to think about things. And I'm going to give some examples. Okay, think about it like a pack of wolves. And I'm no expert in dogs or canine behavior, but from what I know, the alpha male has the shittiest job. He's the one in danger. He's the one that everybody's jealous of. He's the one that has to take care of everybody. The rest of the dogs have a great time. They can just dick around. So essentially, that's the way people are. And anybody who wants to be the alpha male is pretty much an idiot. Nobody wants to have all the responsibility. Now, when you've got a good alpha male, his motivation is simply he just happens to be the best or the smartest. So he has no choice but to lead the idiots. In the case of Trump, I suppose he just thinks that he's so delusional, right? Like he's not living on planet Earth. I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist either. I mean, maybe the only one who's afraid of Trump is Trump. Maybe he's terrified of showing weakness because his father ingrained it into him that he always has to know everything. Always has to act like he has it all figured out. He'd probably love to take a break and admit he's an idiot. I mean, one of my rules of thumb that I've developed recently is anybody who pretends they've got it all figured out is full of shit and don't even bother talking to them. And I even called somebody on that once. I just go, "Oh, you're one of those people who knows everything." And I just started laughing at him and he fell, his ego just sank. So people love following, and it's not based on intelligence. One example is, I remember when I was in grade 6, I never made it into the gifted class. My IQ's only 121. But I remember I started a little gang, I guess a cult, and I got the whole grade involved in it. That's 30, 40 kids, all doing whatever I wanted. And I would say, okay, you guys beat each other up, and whoever wins gets promoted. I had a whole hierarchy. And they would actually fight each other in order for me to promote them. Because people love the idea of having an authority figure so that they can just feel free. It didn't matter that my stupid hierarchy made no sense. The hierarchy was like samurai, then ninja, then, it was just so stupid. But the idea that they could rise up the ranks. I mean, the fraternities work the same way, right? The sad thing is I did this in grade 6, and Trump did it at 74, and these fucking elderly politicians all fell for it, and they're acting like 6th graders, essentially, as far as I'm concerned. But I remember back in grade 6, while I was doing this little cult thing, and I didn't do it, I didn't think I was going to start a cult or something. It got out of hand, and people ended up getting hurt, But I always remembered there was one kid, and he did make it into gifted. He obviously had a higher IQ than me, but he had no motivation at all. And so, there you go. And that wasn't even the first cult I started. There was another one. I've already made a video about this I called it the Dr. Snuggles Gang, because it was a joke. It was funny because Dr. Snuggles was a kids show, and we just go around beating up people who said they didn't like Dr. Snuggles. And again, the whole grade got involved. And I would just point at somebody and go, "He doesn't like Dr. Snuggles," and they'd all run at him and attack him. But that's a different subject. That's more of an us versus them, bullying kind of thing. But another example of personal example of how people hate making decisions. I would hang out with my friends when I was 14, and what are we going to do today? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And I just go, "We're going to go watch a movie. We're going to go see this movie," and they'd all go along. Because nobody wants to make decisions. And I've been listening to Michael Cohen's book about Trump, where he talks about how he would have taken a bullet for him, and he did whatever he said, and he only wanted to please him. And it's completely the same thing. It's just Trump knows, just let's do whatever he says. It always seems to be fun and interesting and exciting, and sure. But there's a big price to pay. He paid with jail time, right? And then I think of how Lindsey Graham said after on June 6th, he goes, basically, I think he said, "Oh, it was quite an adventure. It was." I think he almost said like, "It was a wild ride, but I'm sorry. Trump. I love Trump, but enough is enough." Briefly, But when he said it was a wild ride, I'm thinking, so you were having fun. This was so much fun for you because you got to just do whatever he said with no abandon or with abandon. I mean, you could kill people, you could do anything because you're just taking orders. You're just following orders. And it's fun too because you don't have to have a conscience anymore. So when Lindsey Graham or Ted Cruz or any of them, when they say things like this party can't exist without Trump, they're not saying it because they're afraid of him. They're saying it because they want to please him. Because it gives them a feeling of like, it's so sad. And I'm not going to get into how they made so many concessions that like it's gotten so out of hand, and when they should have stopped, when he never should have been allowed to run in the first place. But this was inevitable. It only escalates. But I think that if you want to shame these people, the better thing to do is shame them for being in love with Trump rather than being afraid of him. They're not afraid of him, like he's got no power. So all these reporters saying, I don't understand it. What Lindsey Graham used to be good. No, he's just afraid of Trump. Why is he afraid of him? He's not even in power. Because he's not afraid of him. He's in love with him. And Joe Biden, who's probably going to go down as like one of the best presidents in history, is obviously above these games. And he's above name calling and putting Trump really in his place and putting all these idiots really in their place. But all it takes is somebody to be as decisive as Trump, because you can't be more, who actually has a brain, to really like destroy him, really like humiliate Trump so bad that the rest of them go running. Trump, the guy who wears diapers and who only has money because his daddy gave it to him and has never worked a day in his life, the guy that poops his pants, right? He wears diapers. I really can't believe that in all those 4 years, nobody ever like challenged, like even reporters never challenged Trump on any skill testing questions. Like, what's the capital of? Well, I wouldn't know. I don't know the states, but what's the capital of Washington, or what's the capital of Oregon? I don't even know if Oregon's a city or a state, but neither does Trump. They should have asked him that and watched his response. Dude who challenged Barack Obama asked him to show his school, marks. Well, and then meanwhile he's terrified to have his school grades shown because he's like an utter moron, right? Just keep pressing him on it. Show your school grades. It's so easy. It's so easy. Be like, pull your pants down right now. If you want to prove you're not wearing diapers, prove it. Pull your pants down. Shut up. Pull your pants down. Prove you're not wearing. And you just don't listen to him. And you just keep telling them to pull his pants down. Like, this guy loves name calling. You know how fast he'd crumble if you did name calling on him? Because his idiot followers, all they see is that nobody challenges him the way he challenges them. Right? He's like the old analogy I always use. A guy that gets into a boxing ring and acts like a tough guy until he gets punched. And then he jumps out of the ring. But he's happy to beat you up as long as you don't fight back. Anyways, that's about it. I'm not going to go on forever. They're in love with him. They're not afraid of him because he's decisive. And they don't care if he's wrong. It's just the fact that he makes choices while they struggle around and, flailing like leaves. Now, I'll tell you, what you're supposed to do when you become an adult is you're supposed to outgrow all this shit, and you're supposed to try to have relationships with equals. You're supposed to be able to say, yeah, I don't know about that. You know about that. I don't. Inform me. And you can learn from each other. This know-it-all bullshit. You don't do that if you're a mature person any more than you do that with a spouse. You're not supposed to wear the pants in the relationship. I know it's hot for a teenage girl. It's hot to see a guy on a motorbike who like tells her what to do and all that. But come on, Lindsay. Lindsay. You're not a teenage girl. You're supposed to be an old man with. You're in an abusive relationship, Lindsay. Break up with him. If you support gays, click like. If you respect blacks, comment. If you think women are people too, click the notification bell. And if you care about sick children, subscribe.